God is good. It is good to be together. Listen, we've been through something and we're still thinking about it, I can tell. We're still thinking about it. And then the second one came, big hurricane, and knocked out an island. Can you imagine what they're going through? They were hit way harder than we were the first time. And then they got another one and hit hard, slam dunk again. Father help. And we got a lot out of the level one that hit us spiritually. So we're praying for each other. We're praying for each other. Makes me think about danger and what all creatures do in the face of it. Something happens in the face of danger, doesn't it? You stop doing certain things when danger comes. I imagine just the creatures of the earth and some of the little reactions we can tell when we see nonverbal communication that says we are alert. See the deer out in the field, suddenly alert. No longer grazing, kind of on point physically, muscles ready to dart in one direction or another depending on what this is. Ears turned up and towards the sound, paying attention to the danger, being alert, being on guard. There's a lot of danger in this world. Sometimes the moments are bigger than others. Psalm 37:3 is a God trying to speak into the hearts of people that he sees are on alert, not sometimes, but all the time on alert. Do you sometimes feel like the hurricanes come, but the everyday life is enough of a long-term, constant, on alert, ears perked, eyes watching, experience of danger all the time? It's always something. It's always something. Our God knows this is the constant state of affairs. Physically, we can measure it. Hospitals and those that are on point to teach us things in our health seminars yet to come, they're going to show us in seminars to come that our bodies are constantly reacting. We can see on the outside physical examples of our alertness to danger, but inside things are happening in the body when you prime for danger. And all those hormones and things are skirting around in there and keeping your body in constant state of danger, and that's not good for you. That's not good for you because God intends us to know safety and security. We are designed to thrive in spaces of safety and security. Psalm 37:3 says, "Trust in the Lord your God and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy a safe pasture." So that's what we all tried to do. We were alert to danger. We were alerted for about a week, and we all were coached to find safe places to go to huddle together. For it's not good to be alone in times of danger, is it? You're not safer to be alone. So many people gathered in large groups and facilities that were strong. And we were coached to do that. Don't be alone. Go be with somebody. Connect with somebody. Call somebody. Tell them where you are at least if you can. And then others, went to someone else's home or connected up with spaces that seemed safe. Go find safe pasture. And that was our instinct, to find safe pastures, to be in, to dwell. And everybody was doing that in one form or another. God is inviting us to such things. Simon Sinek is a hot speaker nowadays on the circuit in TED Talks and various things. We had a seminar of religious leaders called up in Georgia, and I have attended 2 years, and we were able to hear him speak there. He received a standing ovation at the end of his presentation, and he signed my book. He signed my book. The subtitle to the book that I am currently reading and not done with, but getting a lot out of, is a question mark about how we are as people are surviving the everyday dangers in life or not. And just noticing how that experience of constant danger is affecting our productivity to thrive. And it doesn't take a hurricane to create that in our everyday experiences. And he describes, that initial reaction that we can see in all creatures, the deer that kind of peek their head, or the creatures that survive danger by gathering together, by creating togetherness. What are some creatures that do that? I know fish swarm together all of a sudden, don't they? And they have amazing ways of being able to swarm, and how they do that and stay together and synchronize without bumping into each other and creating more chaos in the swarm is a miracle. Other creatures will huddle together in herds and kind of back up into each other so that all their antlers and perceptions are outward and they are tight into the community. And you protect your young, you put them inside. That would be a good nature study. How do creatures create belonging and team in order to face the dangers in the world? How do they do that? Not all teams do that well, is what Simon Sinek is pointing out to us. Do you notice that? Sometimes when the danger is so heightened, we're forced to lay down all our other mechanisms that get in the way of safety and security. We're forced to lay it down. But other times when we have just enough security, we put on a number of other different behaviors of self-protection that actually get in the way of protection for everybody. We self-sabotage our security and safety, is what he's saying, in our simple human way of finding protection. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. The fear of loss conquers me sometimes. That's what happens. We're always fearful, and there's a constant state of fearfulness of losing something in the world that provides me safety and security. And the reality of failure will consume me. These ideas and thoughts, when they are perpetuated, affect how we are able to live. He points out that many a workplace, for what he does is he goes around to large corporations and he examines things and looks at things and wonders, how can you be more productive, people? And we try to understand how we can make more money and be more productive as an organization. And he begins to point out that, when I really look at the average everyday experience of people out in the workforce, the large majority of people are not happy at all. They're not excited about their work. They're doing it because they have to, but most of them aren't happy. Why aren't they happy? And it's not because they don't make enough money. It's usually because they go into the workplace and they don't feel safe there. They don't feel like they can be themselves. More than that, they feel like their job could be on the line no matter how many years of loyalty you have gifted that organization. No matter how much effort you've put into it. Your job could be on the line at any point in time. And if you've had a bad day, or if you've had other issues going on in your life separate from it, and you come onto the job and it's showing on the job site because you're just not all together. You have a headache because of those issues, or you're tired, you got a cold, you got something, and the boss comes in and rags on you for lack of productivity, or doesn't really see what's really going on that you're working on, and you get this kind of feedback from the side or whatever that misinterprets the whole thing. You don't feel safe there, he notices. These things affect productivity and actually stifle the human experience. He describes someone that I thought, wow, these chapters are really, really deep and really, really amazing. He describes one employer who said, I want to do it different. I want to do it differently than the rest of the world is doing their work. He bought a company, this very wealthy individual. He bought a company, and he begins assessing his company by walking around after the purchase, after the acquisition. And he goes to where the people are during lunch, and he sees a lot of camaraderie. He sees people are pumped up and enjoying lunch. You know, they're sitting together, they're chatting, they're smiling, they're live, they're interacting, they're greeting one another, they're catching up on everybody's day, and they're making, little discussions about things they're excited about. And he thought, this camaraderie is good. Lunch is over. Death grips the face of every worker suddenly. Like, time changed everything. And everybody went back to work. And what he saw in the rest of the time frame was an internal danger that everybody was navigating all the time. People were not functioning well on the job. They were not happy. Absence of a circle of safety on the job creates paranoia, cynicism, and self-interest prevails. These are the things that he notices on the job. He said, I'd like to do it differently here. What if we did it differently here? This is radical. This is a very unusual situation here with this individual. I wonder what creates it in him. I have a lot of inquiries. He says, I want to be a different kind of leader for this corporation, for this company. What if we could do things so different here, we could create team that look more like the lunchroom, where we have this great camaraderie of together we can achieve more. Together we're on each other's side. Together we're having each other's back. Together we're understanding where we're coming from. Together we're understanding who brings what to the team and how we all tell stories. Together we're better. We're safer if we have each other's back and work differently together, rather than a picture that he was beginning to see of a company that had some work to do in the world. This company had work to do in the world to produce some things for the world. And there's a lot of dangers out there in the world that we have to face to navigate, that we have to tackle, we have to overcome to make this possibility possible for everybody else. But we can't even begin to deal with that stuff because all the danger that people are fighting are right here inside. What do we do with the danger that's right here inside among us? What do we do with that? He said, I want to be a different kind of leader. And it starts with the leader, he says. He says, weak leaders are the ones who only extend the benefits of the circle of safety to their fellow senior executives and a chosen few others. Ooh. Starts at the top. Heaven help. They look for each other. They look out for each other, but they do not offer the same considerations to those outside the inner circle of their own little inner circle safety. Without the protection of our leaders, everyone outside that inner circle is forced to work alone or in small tribes to protect and advance their own interests. And in doing so, these little groups, political entrenchment, mistakes are covered up to protect and instead of expose, and the whole company, the whole effort, the whole overarching mission is sacrificed for little small groups trying to figure out how to survive around here. And he said that's an example of weak leadership, and the majority of what we produce is weak leadership, where the top makes a whole lot of money having their own protection. But he says, listen, strong leaders, in contrast, extend their circle of safety to include every single person who works for that organization. Self-preservation is unnecessary And fiefdoms are less able to survive in this setting with clear standards for entry into the circle and competent layers of leadership that are able to extend the circle's perimeter, the stronger and better equipped the organization becomes. Belonging. He's talking about belonging. We've launched a theme of belonging. What does that look like God's way, as opposed to the small little fiefdom way of belonging that only protects a small group? How will we know it when we have it? You can feel it. You can feel the difference. We feel valued by our colleagues and we feel cared for by our superiors. We become absolutely confident that the leaders of the organization, all those with whom we work, are there for us and will do what they can to help us succeed. Don't you kind of expect that when you get through college? You went to college or you went through your training, whatever it is you're looking to do. You went through the hoops to get there, and you get there and you're like, I'm here, I'm young, I'm teachable, I want to do what you need me to do, and you trust that the organization's going to help you get from here to there. But you start getting into the system, you start realizing, oh, I got to navigate this, I got to do that, and I'm not sure my interest or you wanting to grow me is fitting here. So you learn a whole new skill set to survive. But you feel it differently when you go into a space and it's a new atmosphere, and that's what he wanted to create. We become members of the group. We feel like we belong. And when we believe that those inside our group, those inside the circle will look out for us, it creates an environment for the free exchange of information and effective communication. There are things that automatically start happening when that's created. In the absence of a circle of safety, paranoia, cynicism, self-interest prevail. In the presence of a circle of safety, you don't have to force it. You can't tell people to trust each other. You can't instruct people to come up with big ideas and produce for the organization. And you can't demand that people cooperate. But when you create this space of camaraderie and trust, when you build on these ideas, it will automatically happen. You'll feel it. When people are safe, when the deer are safe in the field, and they alerted to the danger, oh, no danger, what do they start doing again? Their muscles relax, their ears go down, start grazing the field, they start meandering, start frolicking and doing those cute little jumps that we like to see them do. They start becoming more and thriving more in who they were made to be. And this is what this individual wants to see in this new company. So he set up some rules. He said, I'm going to do things different. Listen, leaders, he pulled his leadership team together. He says, when we hire someone, unless they have truly done a couple of things like, really grievous, unless they're demonstrating they just really don't want to be part of the team and cooperate and be on the team, then we're not going to fire them. We're not going to fire them. When we hire them, it's going to be like adopting a child into our corporation. How would you feel if someone said that to you upon your hire? Wow. He said, so management and leadership, that means you better hire with serious intent. And when you hire, you plan on developing that person. You and the leadership team, they thought, wow, this is cool idea. This is cool. Now, and one of the top leaders after the fact of doing this whole experiment said, at first I thought that this was just going to be really awesome security experience for those kind of in the working body of this corporation. They're going to feel a better sense of security, stuff like that's going to be a win. And for the upper level, who are high-functioning people, who, produce and kind of have some sense of ownership in the company, it might not affect them so much. But he said, it changed me. It changed how I decided to be a leader. It changed how I had to be a leader. I couldn't just discount people because they disagreed with me anymore. I couldn't just fire them because they weren't performing at top level. So the company had to implement some things. They had to implement a really good quality training program. How many of you feel like most of the jobs you've ever been in was kind of sink or swim? Even if you had a degree going into it. Even if you had a degree going into it, once you get there, it's do or die. It's sink or swim. It's dive in. It's on-the-job training. You figure it out. Good luck with that. You figure it out. What if they developed, they said, a really good quality training program that included interaction with the employee to understand their skill sets and match them well and help grow them through the normal human experience of growth and maturity? He said, it changed me. It changed how I lead. It changed my commitment, and it changed everybody. Here's how it changed everybody. The whole company began to thrive differently because if you felt like everybody was going to have your back in the storyline, you're less fearful and not spending all your time trying to defend yourself on the job, and now you can come up with ideas. Now people can communicate on a different level around here about complaints came to the leadership sooner that helped the whole company avoid the outside dangers that would get in the way sooner of their thriving. They were able to talk about it and accept it for what it was, lest they fear. How many people have not said something on the job or in some place of organization because you were afraid you'd be kicked out if you did? And how many people suffer in this entire globe of humanity great atrocities within the system of corruption because we knew if we said something, you'd be out of here. Doesn't matter how well-intentioned. It doesn't matter if this issue was going to take the company down. We don't want to shame the company. We don't want to really hear about it. Don't be a troublemaker. So these decisions, though, changed this company. And the interaction that was taking place around the more casual settings began to take place in the workspace, and they could talk to one another and process the issues, deal with the issues that were real issues, not made-up issues for self-protection. Isn't that interesting? I think that is really interesting. You know, we have a God who says, come to the safe place. He sent his son into the world because God, when he creates something, takes responsibility, and he's not a weak leader. He's a strong leader. And when he creates one of his own in his own image, he is willing to adopt you back into the family, even if you've run off doing your own thing for a while. And God creates a different kind of thing in the midst of all these dangers. Trust in the Lord and do good. For heaven's sake, let's do good around this company. Let's not hide it under the table. Let's do some good. Let's trust in the Lord, trust in your leader, and let's do some good around here. And let's dwell in a land and enjoy a safe pasture together. Now, we have a lot of things to deal with as a family of God. And he knows that, but if you start with a safe place where you know there's forgiveness and a God who intends to grow you, you know the salvation story is so mighty and beautiful. He has got this all covered. Now, he doesn't accept one who doesn't want to be on the team and isn't going to do is continuing to plan to do all the grievous things to take the team down. But if you want in and want to learn, you're in and he's going to grow you. He says, what I start in you, I'm going to finish. And I'm planning on making you a very powerful individual in the kingdom of God for all eternity. So we're going to grow around here, and we're going to implement a really good training program that you would grow. If you have been part of a church for how many years, and you name the years, and you can't sincerely say to someone else in the world, I am seeing more powerful relationships in my home, then we need to put a question mark there. If the religion that you ascribe to, if the faith that you believe in isn't one that says, value this physical self that you are and let's get whole again. And if you aren't feeling more wholeness in your physical body or in your spiritual body or in your psychological body, then put a question mark there. Who is your leader? And what community are you a part of? What philosophies are you ascribing to? Proverbs 10:10 says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. Righteous ones run to it and are safe. Let's be a church that goes there and is under the leadership of the great shepherd who does things differently. So God is so powerful and such a mighty leader. He sends his son into the dangerous places for us. He sent his son down into these dangerous places. Son arrives down in our place, and he starts with the inner tribe. He starts with the place that was the institution set up to be the safe harbor. And he goes to the institution, and he sees that something about weak leadership is showing up all over this institution that was supposed to be my institution, that was supposed to lead people straight to me. People were supposed to find safety. And instead, he saw the same thing that's showing up in all our corporations around here, all our organizations around here. Because this was the church. And the son came in, and the one moment we see the son angered, in righteous anger, is because he came in and he saw a big line of people on the outside of the circle being rejected or having to pay an enormous high price to be in. He says, to get into my circle is free because I'm going to pay the bill. Why are you holding them back? Why are you holding them back from being part of the inner circle? And we have to ask ourselves, well, we're not financially doing that to other people, but what are the other things we're doing that make it too expensive for someone to come into this circle? What trauma are we applying to someone somehow, some way, that has them just stepping back from this circle of belonging you're part of? Let's do it differently, Father God says. And he sends his son, and that son comes in one day, and he flips over the things that were binding, that were holding people outside of the circle, and he flips over those money changer tables. He makes a big ruckus in the house of God. He said, my house is to be a house of prayer for all people. Let them in. Who are you to not let them in? And what are you protecting? Because he's trying to say, listen, God doesn't do that kind of thing to be a hard boss to just be mean. He doesn't. He's not that kind of leader. He's doing it for their own good on the inside. Because he can see the future of Jerusalem, that it's going to fall. Because they think they're protecting and making a safe place, but they're not. It's not safe in there, and in their own power, they will not survive the storm that's coming. They have to learn to be together with the broader people of God. They have to know God's ways, or they will not survive it. This is serious. And he sent the Son of God to flip over the tables to help him to see that your form of security and belonging is not going to work. You are not strong enough, so I'm going to be the storm that changes your mind. And he flips over the tables, and the people were mad about it. But the ones on the outside started flowing into church. And he said, my house will be a house of prayer, and I will be able to come boldly to the throne through me, the Son who is a strong leader. Letting everybody in, promising to grow them. Don't come into my house planning not to become a good employee around here. Participating and having each other's back. That's your job. If you're not doing it, you better do it. If you don't know how to forgive, you're not going to be forgiven. You got to learn these skills, Father God says, and the Son of God says. God's calling us to a different form of leadership in the church that's not about being more in than others. For we all have all sinned and fallen short. Intimidation, humiliation, isolation, feeling dumb, feeling useless, and rejection are all things you'll notice that says you're on the wrong track. Does anybody feel that? We're on the wrong track. They're all stresses we try to avoid inside the organization all the time. Let's not have it here. The danger inside is controllable, and it should be the goal of leadership to set a culture free of danger from each other. From each other. From each other. And the way to do that is by giving people a sense of belonging. A sense of belonging. By offering them a strong culture based on a clear set of human values and beliefs, and that's what Christian is all about. What are those values and beliefs that are strongly, purely, beautiful Christian that sets the tone and sets the value for the kind of home we want to be, an oasis here in the middle of every place you have to go that doesn't know these values? And it starts with the Lion of the tribe of Judah, who is mighty and strong. It's the one who never changes. It's the one who is all-powerful and all-loving, who becomes the Lamb, who is willing to condescend, according to our song today, who is willing to condescend from his mighty, powerful leadership to self-sacrifice his safety for ours. God has had our back safety-wise. He put himself in the worst possible human harm's way that not one in his little set of disciples could tolerate. In the moment that the Lion, tribe of Judah, became the Lamb slain, every one of his church leaders, well, half of them were creating the crucifixion, and the other half were running from it. But the one thing that Christ did is what creates belonging for everybody. And we can't do that without him. It's self-sacrificing love. It's you being willing to say, I'm going to break my space of security that I've set up for myself, that I've been willing to kill for in order to self-preserve. I'll give up my money, I'll give up my time, I'll give up my effort to break outside of my place of security in order to bring you into the fold. That's what God did. That's what this one gentleman, in creating a whole new company, took a risk on hiring people he didn't want to fire. Knowing that they're not what they need to be yet. Knowing that it's going to cost him more money to develop a company this way and put money into training than just kick them out and get somebody else who do what I want them to do. It's developing people and family, not institutions. God is not creating an institution, he's creating a family. We don't want to be an institution as a church that we manage. We want to be a family because the storm is coming and it's going to knock out every bit of this institution we've set up here on this earth. Our favorite parts of it, every stained glass window is nothing in the light of his glory. Every financial protection we have across the globe, the things that we love, our educational systems, gone. And God's only taken his family back if we have been the ones that met the Lamb who went out of his fold of heaven to find us in our place and bring us in. If you haven't met him, it's time for a new normal. It's time for a new normal. A new normal. The lion and the lamb are not viciously attacking one another. Church is not at each other's throat. We're not vying for the highest place. That's what the disciples did. They were vying, oh, let me be closest to you in the kingdom, Jesus. Let me be first. Let me be on your right hand, be on your left hand, because I'm not good for you. I deserve to be in your institution. Lion and lamb are not fighting against each other for positions. We're all just trying to be part of a beautiful, loving, amazing family where we forgive each other and grow and become like him. Psalm 4, verse 8 says, I will lie down and sleep in peace. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. Do you know this, Lord? Do we know this, Lord? Do people who come into our house feel safety? I would say yes. I would say the Lord is here. I would say the Lord is working powerfully in this place. I would say as we commit to a story of belonging, that he will, with exponential power and authority, he will grow the family. Because we will all be running outside of this circle of belonging and saying, welcome home. Come. He's going to grow us around here.